everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus painting tutorial, and today we are painting the magnificent, the wonderful Vashtorr the Arkifane. Yes, here he is, part of the Wrath of the Soulforged King box set sent to me early by Games Workshop, so a massive thank you to them because, well, as you guys may know by now, I really love my demons, and this guy is very demony. Yes, here he is. He's absolutely fabulous, and we're going to be painting him up today in our Contrast Plus style. So we're not going to waste any more time, and we're going to jump right in, and we're going to start. So he's been primed in Grey Seer, and the colour we're going to be using first is Dreadful Visage, and we're going to be applying this over the top of all of Vashtorr's skin. And you want to make sure that you get all of it. So we've got areas such as this area up here on the wings. Like this. And it does go over on the other side as well. It can be a little messy at this point because we're just putting our first colour on, and well, there's a lot of mechanical details around on Vashtorr. And Dreadful Visage is a very lovely paint, so it's one of those things of be careful, but don't be too cautious. And just almost get away with slapping this on willy-nilly. But as per usual with such things, do make sure that you just do as I've done and take it a section at a time. Don't kind of approach it haphazardly. And then once this Dreadful Visage is on, we'll come back. So with that Dreadful Visage all applied, what we're then going to do is take a roughly 3 parts Dreadful Visage to 1 part Druchii Violet mix, and we're going to apply this over the top of the skin. It's going to add a little bit more shading and a little bit more of that darker purple, as you can see right there. So with that done, we've got a really nice, decent skin tone going on here. But what we're going to do now is we're going to do a tiny little bit of blending. Now, the blending that we are going to be doing is we're going to be doing a roughly 2 parts contrast medium to 1 part Shyish Purple mix. And we're going to be doing it up here on the wings, going into the metal, so around there, and on here. We're going to be doing this on his legs, going up to around about the knee, and we're going to be doing it up his left hand, and a little bit around the face as well. So I'm going to demonstrate all of that. And well, what we're going to do is we're going to take that Shyish Purple and Contrast Medium mix on our brush, and we're going to start down here, up on the wing. Well, up here on the wing. So we're going to apply the Shyish Purple like this, up to around about halfway, like that. We're going to wash off the brush, and then with a clean, slightly damp brush, we're just going to move that paint around and feather away at the area. We're actually going to add a little bit more ink, so I've taken a little bit more off than I wanted to. I'm just going to come up a little bit further because we've got that contrast medium it stays wetter for longer. So once again, clean dry brush, well, damp brush. We're just going to mop up that excess like that so we get that nice kind of fade from the dreadful Visage into the Shyish Purple. Similarly, I'm going to do this on the inside as well, although it's less crucial that we get that blend right because you can't really see it. So we just want to make sure that we get this over the top like that. I'm going to go on the inside track as well. We're going to wash the brush and then just across the top here, just smooth it out just a little bit like that. We're going to do this on the same way on the other wing, but we'll do that one off camera. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do this on the face, and we're mostly looking around the kind of jaw area like this. We're going to get this all over like that. We're going to bring it round the eyes, coming up to around about there, like so. We're going to wash the brush and then we're going to blend it out. Like that, so we get a much more gradual fade in to the slightly dark area around the maw. Similarly, once again, on the leg, we come right in here and we're going to apply that Shyish Purple coming up over the kneecap like that. We're going to then wash the brush and create a little fade. And that sort of thing. And the thing to just remember here on the legs is that around this kind of little bit, just want to add this Shyish Purple mix like that, and same again on the inside track. Once again, on our other leg, it's a little bit easier because it's not really visible detail, but once exactly the same as before, we'll just bring this over the top of the kneecap like that, wash the brush, and then just smooth it out. And then just attack those side bits. Like so. And then once more on the arm, we want to get this Shyish Purple mix going about halfway up the forearm on the inside. We wash the brush and then we feather away like that. And you just want to go around like this until you're happy. So with that Shyish Purple and Contrast Medium mix applied, what we're then going to do is take some Black Templar, and we're going to do a similar thing but a lot less of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of this Black Templar on our brush, and we're going to start up here on our wings. So what we want to do is we want to apply the Black Templar up to about half of what we've done. Wash the brush, and then feather it out. It's really, really subtle little tiny blend down into the black. And again, we do this on the other side. Like that. Around the face, we're going to add a little bit of Black Templar. mostly around the eye sockets. Like so. Again, just wash the brush and use that to remove any wanton black Templar that you don't want anywhere. Have a little bit more paint actually. It's just removed a bit I don't want to get rid of. Like that. On the legs, we want to add a little bit towards the bottom. Like so. And on the hand, what we're going to do is we're going to cover in the fingernails. We're going to do the whole of the hand like this, and we're going to come up to around about half of what we did before. So with that Black Templar now all done, what we're going to do is we're going to move on to our next colour, and that's going to be some Black Legion. And we're going to be applying this over a number of different details. So the first place we're going to work on with the Black Legion is the horns up here. So we're just going to be quite careful so that we don't get this over the top of our flesh that we've just painted. But what we're going to do is we're just going to nice and simply apply Black Legion all over. Just like that. Similarly to that, what we're going to do is we're going to look for any smooth cabling. So we've got some under here. We're going to look for any leather. There's not very much of that at all. Got a bit there. You want to make sure that on these ones you want to just flip it over. And this is a great example here because whilst that is a completely smooth cable, we've got some gaps in this one. We are going to still paint over any of those types of cables. We're not looking to pick out all of the ribbed cables, so there are a couple that are just straight up ribbed as usual. We've got a little bit just in here. We just need to sneak our brush in and get that Black Legion on. Just like that. Just check the other one. Yeah. Get that all over like that. There is one large ribbed cable though, which we want to paint in with the Black Legion. That's up here on the back of his head, and whilst it doesn't run all the way to the back, I like to think it's the same cable as this one, just here. So we are going to paint that one in with the Black Legion. Like so. In addition, what we're going to do is we're going to pick out his hooves. like that. And the last black detail is going to be the haft of the hammer over here. Now whilst this is going to be a sort of red colour later, we just want to get a nice coat of Black Legion over the top of it. So with that Black Legion applied to all of those details, as you can see, all the way around, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Nazdreg Yellow and we're going to apply this over the top of his carapace up here. Now, whilst it might look like it's a similar colour to what's going on this section and this section, this section and this section, it's actually slightly different. So, as far as I can tell, it's kind of got a matte finish, whereas the rest of it's got a shiny finish. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that Nazdreg Yellow and we're going to apply this over the top, up here, like this. Now, it is going to look a little bit warm at first, but don't worry, we are going to sort that out. A little bit later on. So with that Nazdreg Yellow applied, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Retributor Armour and we're going to apply this over the top of, well, lots and lots of different details. So firstly, we're going to apply this over the top of all of the armour. Like that. We're going to apply this over the top of the kind of decorative features on the hammer, excluding this kind of graty bit. Around there like that. We're going to apply this over the top of these kind of spiked features. On the wings. Like that sort of thing. And we're going to apply this over the top of the kind of caps. These kind of trimmy bits. On the top of all of the wings. So with that Retributor Armour applied to all of these details, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Castellax Bronze and we're going to be applying this to a lot. So places that we're going to be looking at are going to be things like this sort of, well, let's start nice and simple. We've got all of the armour trim. That sort of thing. I'm just going to do that across all of the armour. We've got areas such as the kind of main frame of his wings. Like all of this area. We've got the kind of frame of the wing blades themselves. All of that kind of area. We've got the vertebrae of the spine slash tail. We've got the kind of chaosy, framey bits of his legs. like that. We've got this grilly section of the hammer. There's a whole lot of this all the way around, so I would recommend having the box art in front of you, and of course I'll show you all of the places for the Castellax Bronze in our next take. So with that Castellax Bronze applied to all of these areas, as you can see, in our slow little pirouette, what we're going to do now is move on to our last kind of base coat, although there is one more after this, but this is a base coat over the top of our next one, which is going to be some Thin Down Iron Warriors. And we're going to be applying this over the top of pretty much all of our remaining details. But it is all of our remaining details. So stuck in my catchphrases. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at the bottom. And we're just going to work our way up the model, picking out all of our remaining metallic details. So just take your time. Make sure to do it this way because you've got the odd little bit of piston or something in his flesh. You don't want to kind of attack it haphazardly. And end up missing it. So with that Iron Warriors all applied, Vashtorr now has pretty much all of his base coats on. There is in fact 2 left to do, and these are ones that are kind of relayers. So we're going to start that process of getting us down to that Warhipster battle ready. And the colour we're going to be using next is Flesh Tearer's Red. And we're going to be applying this over the haft of the hammer. And so with that Flesh Tearer's Red all applied, we're then going to take some Black Templar. I'm going to apply this to the areas that we want to be black metal. So this is going to be areas like the hammer head itself. Like that. We will want to do in there as well, but just for the moment, moving on to the next bit. We're also going to paint in the kind of little effigies up here on the back. Just trying to figure out which one's the best way to start. We'll go with this one just here. So we're going to paint this Black Templar over the top. Like this. Just avoiding those horns and the grill. So with that Black Templar applied to those details, what we're now going to do is we're going to add some shades. Now the first one we're going to add is Agrax Earthshade, and this is going to be, well, used quite a lot. So we're going to be using this to shade all of the gold and all of the Castellax Bronze. We just want to get this all over these details. Just like this. And what we're also going to do with this, once I've finished this little section, what we're also going to do with the Agrax Earthshade is we're going to use this to shade our Nazdreg Yellow areas. By getting it all over. Like that. Then we wash the brush. And then we just take some of it off around the middle, just by kind of stippling your brush in. Like that, so you get kind of a bit more Agrax towards that end and a bit more Agrax towards that end, and that'll be important for later. Still on the Agrax Earthshade at the moment, I forgot to mention that when you're doing this part with the Agrax Earthshade over all of the bronze, not brass, all the bronze and all of the gold, if you do get this over the top of some silver, that's alright. In fact, I've kind of done it purposely on some areas. So for example, I'm doing a wing at the moment, and well, get it all over the casing of the wing, but these large kind of cogs and things here, it's absolutely worth getting the Agrax Earthshade on that now, rather than just kind of messing about. And the same for the blades of the wings. Just using a bit of Agrax Earthshade over the top of them. Absolutely fine. In some ways, it actually looks better. So with that Agrax Earthshade applied all over, as you can see, what we're going to do now is we're going to take some Nuln Oil. And we're going to apply this over a couple of different details. So of course, you know what you're thinking. I'm going to paint this over the top of the remainder of our silver details, and you would be absolutely correct in that. So for example, just up here on the hammer, we've got some silver details back here that we haven't put any Agrax Earthshade on. Now this might be different for you. You might have put Agrax Earthshade everywhere. In which case, you probably won't need to add any Nuln Oil to any of your silver details. However, we're going to add the Nuln Oil like that over those places. We're going to add this over the top of any black details that we've got. So for example, the large horns around here, like so. Got the little vox grills. Around his face and the back of his head. Like that sort of thing. But what we're also going to do with the Nuln Oil is, if you need to, on large kind of creases and folds on his skin, you just want to run a little bit of Nuln Oil into the recess. So for example, just there on the leg. So with that Nuln Oil now applied, Vashtorr the Arkifane is now what I would call a Warhipster battle ready. But we're not going to leave him there, no. We're going to take him to the next level, and we're going to do this by adding some layers and some highlights. And the first one we're going to add is a layer, and that is going to be roughly 2 parts Pallid Witch Flesh to 1 part Slaanesh Grey. And we're going to take this, and we're going to use this as our relayer on all of the skin. So we're just going to start here on the arm. What we're looking for is the flats of all the muscles. This is just going to smooth out any inconsistencies you might have, as well as brighten them right up. And so with that Slaanesh Grey and Pallid Witch Flesh mix applied, what we're now going to do is we're going to highlight all of his skin. The colour we're going to be using for this is Pallid Witch Flesh. And what we're looking to do is we're looking to pick out the curvature of his muscles, the sharpest points, all the way around. I'm just going to start here on the knee. And work my way up. And so with that Pallid Witch Flesh applied, what we're then going to do, just to finish off all of this skin, is we're going to take a roughly 4:1 mix of Contrast Medium and Magos Purple. We want this to be really, really thin. And we're going to apply this over the top of the skin, just add a little bit of extra colour in there, and to tie all of our layers together, as well as add just a little bit of warmth back in. So with that done, all of the skin, including his face, is finished for now. There is a couple of metallic details around there and of course the horns, but we're going to come back to those a bit later, because what we're going to do is move on to the next kind of most prevalent colour, and that is going to be all of the armour. Now there are additional gold details, obviously we have these things up here, but we're not doing those just yet. We're going to be focusing on his armour pieces, specifically the metallic ones. And the colour we're going to be using next is Skullcrusher Brass. We're going to be using this to effectively relayer all of the Retributor Armour, just avoiding these little recesses, just to add a little bit of shine in there. Make him look real pretty. So with that Skullcrusher Brass applied, what we're then going to do is going to make a roughly 1:1 mix of Skullcrusher Brass and Stormhost Silver. I'm going to use this, again, to do a little bit more relayering on our armour panels, but what we're looking to do is kind of pick out the sharper bits. You see those little grooves in these armour panels. So we're going to use the mix over the top of that. Like that sort of thing, make it look really bright. And in addition, we're now going to use this to highlight all the rest of our gold. So with those highlights applied to the gold details and all of that armour looking all nice and shiny, as you can see under my lights there, see on his arm as well, he's looking pretty fabulous. However, he's not finished. So what we're going to do is move on, and we're going to take some Wyldwood next. I'm going to work up here on the yellow. Now what we want to do is we want to take a little bit of this Wyldwood, and I'm going to be using my small layer brush, And just here on my finger, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dab most of it off, like that, and then we're going to stipple this on around each end of the armour, like that. Then we're going to take a little bit more, again take most of it off on the hand, then we're going to add some very gentle little stipples like that. And if you get a little bit too much, like I've just done on the back there, wash the brush and just go straight in. And lift it off by stippling away at that section, like so. And if you really want to, what you can also do is on some of the larger recesses on our brassy armour, so for example just here, you can go in with some Wyldwood and just apply it like so. So with that Wyldwood applied all over, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some Zandri Dust. And we're going to go straight from the pot here, because what we're going to do, similarly, is we're going to take some of the Zandri Dust on our brush, not very much at all, and on our hand, we're just going to wipe most of it off, work it into the hand. You could use a bit of tissue paper here if you wanted. And then up here on the top of the carapace, across that middle section, we're going to stipple it on again. So with that done, the yellow and the gold and the bright brass are now finished. So what we're going to do is move on to all of the brass. This is what we did the Castellax Bronze with. So it's the bronze. I misspoke. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Balthasar Gold now. And what we're going to do here is we're effectively going to do a little bit of relayering over the top of any wide open spaces. So for example, just up here, we're going to apply this Balthasar Gold. Just like this. Across the flat areas. Like that. Similarly, over here, on this lip, I'm going to add some of the Balthasar Gold, like that. We're going to do this along our talons, towards the tips. Down here on the legs. Just like this. So with that Balthasar Gold all applied, as you can see, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Runelord Brass. I'm going to use this to highlight now all of our Castellax Bronze areas. So you just want to pick a place to start, and I'm just going to start down here on the leg. This is going to be one of those things that takes a little while because there is quite a lot. Some of it is quite fiddly. Now if you want to, you can just try dry brushing this. You will just need to be really accurate around all those details we've already painted. So with that Runelord Brass all applied, he's really starting to sing now. So what we're going to do is move on to the next colour, which is going to be all of the silver and some of the black metal. Well, all of the black metal. Insert black metal. Anyway, the colour we're going to be using is Leadbelcher. And we're going to be using this in a couple of different ways. So what we're going to do is on areas such as the pistons and things, we're going to do a little bit of an edge highlight on some of these areas, so like this little kind of rivet type thing here, we're going to do a little edge highlight, whereas on the bit that's kind of going to be slightly oiled and have a lot of kind of use, we're going to cover it in like that. Same here on the back, it's a little piston. Just going to relayer it, and then we're going to edge highlight the little housing down here. We've then got this gear in his knee, but we're going to pick out the bit in the middle, and then we're going to add a little edge highlight around the outside. Like that sort of thing, and around the inside. And then similarly again, we've got another little piston just under here, like that. And we've got this kind of ball joint. Like that sort of thing. Then we're just going to cover in. On the claw, we're going to edge highlight everything. Like so. Including the blades of his fingers. Like that sort of thing. Same deal for all of this stuff back here. But when it comes to any black metal, so for example, the hammer, we're going to edge highlight around here, just like that sort of thing. But what we're not going to do is edge highlight the kind of cracks on the hammer face. We'll get to that a bit later. A little bit heavy on the thing, so I'm just going to jump in there with my finger and wipe it off. So like that sort of thing, and it's going to be the same deal up here on these black metal effigies on his back. And our last thing to point out, as well as we're going to kind of edge highlighting and things over all of this kind of housing on the wing, what we do want to do is we want to do a really large highlight, almost a full relayer really, on his wing veins. Leaving a little bit of our shading in the darkest recess. Just like that. And then realistically, it's kind of up to you. So I'm going to go around all of the silver details and all of the black metal details. And once that's done, we shall return. And so with that Leadbelcher all applied, all the way around, as you can see. What we're going to do now is we're going to finish off all the metallics. And we're going to do this by adding a dry brush of Stormhost Silver. Now this is just going to be very gentle, and we're not going to do the whole thing. We're just going to be literally looking for sharp edges. So for example, just there at the top of the wings. Across these spikes. Really just very, very gentle. So with that dry brush of Stormhost Silver applied, all of the metallics are now finished. We are going to be doing some glowing stuff, but for now, you can bask in their reflective, shiny glory. So, what we're going to do now is going to move on to our last remaining colours. We've only got a couple left, and one of those is the black details. The colour we're going to be using to highlight those is Dawnstone. So with that Dawnstone applied, we're then going to take some Administratum Grey and we're going to apply this to the sharpest points on all the black details. And so with that done, we're going to apply our final kind of highlight, and that's going to be some thinned down Mephiston red. I'm going to use this to highlight the haft of the hammer. And so with that Mephiston red applied, Vashtorr the Arkifane is now pretty much finished. There's just one last thing to do, and whilst I would say that this isn't optional, it kind of is. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Fire Dragon Bright, and we're going to use this to apply that glow that you can see all over him. And we're going to thin it down with sort of 3 or 4 parts water, and we're now just going to start picking out areas that we want to glow. So a very obvious one right here is on the facing of the hammer. So the reason we got it thinned down so much is so that we can just kind of drop it in to these recesses. And because a lot of these details are kind of tiny and, well, recesses, the Fire Dragon Bright will just flow into those areas, filling it up nicely, rather than if we were to kind of thin it down less and kind of build it up. It's a lot less filly this way. Now don't worry if you do get a little bit of an overlap. That's okay. Is kind of what you want. There you go, there's an example of it there on the front of the hammer. We've got areas like the haft of the hammer itself. So you've got this kind of nice crack just here. Just like this sort of thing. We've also got a bunch of it happening on Vashtorr himself as well. There's plenty more to where that came from on the hammer, but on Vashtorr we've got areas such as the kind of grill of his weapon. Like that. We've got the grills around his face. Around there. We've got the open grill. Like that. We've got his eyes. Like that sort of thing. We've got this kind of open section just here. There's plenty of places to choose from. And so with that Fire Dragon Bright applied to all of those grills and recesses and bits that I want to have a bit of glowing energy growing off them, what we're going to do now is going to take two colours, Gryph-Hound Orange and Blood Angels Red. And we're going to use these kind of as we please, and we're going to go over the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of alternate between the two, not necessarily both on the same kind of details, but for example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Gryph-Hound Orange, I'm going to apply this over the top. Of the Vox. I'm going to do it here as well. And I'm going to do it there, around the eyes, as well. Additionally, we've got a little bit too much Gryph-Hound Orange around here, so we're just going to absorb some of it off with our clean brush. There we go, perfect. Now I'm going to use a bit of Blood Angels Red. I'm going to apply this over the top of my cracks. In the hammer. You don't want very much here as you do this. Also going to apply this inside the grill there. But then similarly, I'm going to use Gryph-Hound Orange for the hammer head. So with that now done, we are going to once again take some Fire Dragon Bright and we're going to thin it down again, sort of 3 or 4 parts water. I'm going to add this as our little spot highlight to some of our glows. So what we're going to do, for example, down here in this crack on the hammer, we're just going to add a little small of it, a little small amount of it, just there where the kind of crack diverges. Same here, we're going to add a tiny little bit there, like that. I'm going to add some up there, like that. Up here on the hammer, add a little couple of dots in some places. Like so. And then in things like the grills and things, you just want to add a small amount of it towards the base. Like that sort of thing. And so with that done, just to finish him off, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Screaming Skull. I'm going to use this to highlight his eyes. So with that now done, Vashtorr the Arkifane is finally finished. And I think he looks absolutely fantastic. And I hope you'll agree. So what we're going to do is going to very quickly work on his base. And the colour we're going to be using first is Gryph-Hound Orange. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to apply this inside the cracks between the rocks. Got a little bit of it there on the flat of the rock. It's okay. Just wipe it off with the finger. And so with that Gryph-Hound Orange applied, we're then going to take Black Templar and we're going to apply this over the top of the rocks. And we're going to try our best not to get this in the Gryph-Hound Orange, but we do want to kind of go down over the inside lips of these rock facings. So this way, you kind of get this sort of dull glow. You see just around here. Going to apply that over the top like that. So with that Black Templar all applied, what we then do is we take some thinned down Iron Warriors. I'm going to apply this over the top of the tendrils coming out of the ground. So with that done, just whilst we're waiting for the Iron Warriors to dry so we can shade it, what we're going to do is going to take some Blood Angels Red. And we're going to apply this in little patches in and around our kind of energy. So we're just going to add a little bit of it just around here, like that sort of thing. We're going to wash the brush. And I'm going to come in with our clean damp brush and just absorb some of that paint and move it around like that, just to create a little bit of variation. Just a little bit more red in there. Remove just a little too much, like that sort of thing. And you just want to kind of pick out a couple of little spaces to do this on. Just like this. And so with that Blood Angel's Red applied and that Iron Warrior is now dry, we take some Agrax Earthshade. We use this to shade the silver, like so. But we also use this to paint in the skulls. And so with that Agrax Earthshade applied, we then take some Sterling Battlemire. I'm going to use this over the top of all the negative space around the base. So with that Sterling Battlemire all now applied and dry, I'm going to give you one guess as to what we're going to dry brush it with. Warhipster fans, you'll know. Yes, it's Tyrant Skull. I'm going to dry brush this over the top of all of the Sterling Battlemire and over the top of the rocks. What can I say? I'm a creature of habit. And Tyrant Skull is a lovely dry brush. And so with his base complete, Vashtorr the Arkifane is now finished, and I think he's an absolutely stunning addition to the forces of chaos and to my grand army of chaos, of course. Now what this does mean is I need to get on with all of the demon engines, and there's a lot of them that I've got planned, so I guess that's what we're doing soon. I absolutely love it. Can't wait to field him alongside Abaddon and the rest of my Black Legion when I finally get around to doing them, as well as all those demon engines. But for now, we can just bask in his reflective glory.
If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you want to support me further like these legends and bosses on the screen before you, you can do so. Head to patreon.com/warhipster or head to ko-fi.com/warhipster. Alternatively, you could become a YouTube member by heading to the channel page and clicking on the join button just here, just like these amazing, wonderful people have done. And if you really like this video or you just want to shoot me some support, you can click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.